Hello everybody, happy Monday. We are going live today with Michali to answer a question that's been posted on the forum. So we're just going to wait for some of you to show up and for Michali, of course, to show up. And we will get right to it. Hope everyone's doing well on this Monday. Hello Kyla, thank you for joining. Hello Michali, let me add you. Hello Rifki, thank you for joining. I was debating between two questions today. Hi Michali, do you hear me?
I do. Do you hear me okay?
I do hear you perfectly and I see you. And now I just have to move back so that half my face is not off the screen.
Okay. Do you see me clearly and everything? It looks
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Awesome.
I don't even remember the question. I was literally back and forth. I copy and pasted the link and I sent you a link and then I sent you a different link. There were two really good questions. So whoever wrote them,
Ooh.
I just chose, I think one of them ended with, I feel really sad. And I was okay, the person that said they feel sad, I'm going to choose that one.
That is the one.
So if you ever want to get to my heart now, everybody knows.
Everyone knows exactly what to write.
And then there was somebody else actually that messaged us on Instagram that they tried posting a question and for some reason it didn't go through. So so I said we're going to choose ours next week as soon as they tell me that it's posted and whatever. So
Okay.
So
All right. We have a little bit of heads up
for today's question, but okay, let's go.
Alrighty. Okay. So this is from I Am Okay.
Okay.
And the question reads, how does one go about getting comfort, attention, and love when there is no one to give it to you? As of yet, I'm still single and don't have a partner. My parents, even though I wish I could get it from them, unfortunately, they can't give me the love and attention I want. I have an amazing therapist. However, it doesn't feel enough. Giving it to myself just doesn't feel the same. Besides, I don't even know how to give it to myself. I feel so sad.
Yeah, that was it. I was whoever said I feel so sad. Although the other question was very legitimate, but I was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it. I
Yeah,
really feel the loneliness and the sadness.
Pain. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you wanna take a stab at it?
Sure. So, first of all, I just want to say, and this might sound a little different than what you probably have heard, but there is something to be said about really feeling that missing piece, right? There's actually a great book called The Missing Piece. It's a kid's book that we like to read here. But it is lonely. And I can give you all kinds of tips and suggestions when it comes to how to give yourself what you need. But just know, even after all of that, it's very possible that there might be a part of you, not all of you, but a part of you that still feels it's not quite getting it. And that's because if you're someone who does want to be in a marriage, not everyone wants to be, but if you are someone who wants to be, which it says as of yes, I'm assuming that, it is the case, then that part of you is not being met. Right. And that's really hard and that's really lonely. And it's okay to have that part. You can live and have a beautiful daily life with that part existing, but I just want to kind of validate and normalize that, yeah, there is that part that isn't being satisfied. Now, what to do, with the rest of you. So, it's just also another thing I just want to normalize here is getting comfort and attention and love is something that we all need on a daily basis. So of course you're not going to feel satisfied by therapy, even though I'm so happy for you that you do have an amazing therapist. Because therapy is 15 minutes a week, 45 minutes a week, an hour a week. Right. That's a sliver compared to all the other times that you are with yourself and other people. So of course you're going to need those things, the other times. I would probably journal a little bit about each idea of the comfort, the love, the attention that you've mentioned, and really try to understand what it is for you. What's your unique experience and wanting and longing and need for it, and what are some concrete things that you think would hit the spot and you would know, oh, I've just gotten the comfort. That is my speed, right? And you may even start with why do you think your therapist is so amazing? Because it sounds like you are being given those things in session, right? The issue is not in session, but in session you do feel that. So what is it that you're actually getting that makes you feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you really define those things, then you can start learning how to give that to yourself in a lot of different ways. So having a social life is crucial, I think, especially if you're, I mean, all human beings are social animals, but then especially if you're single and wanting to be married and then you don't have the kind of support you need from your parents, then having people around you that celebrate you and love you and care about you and comfort you and support you, is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
And you can create that by volunteering, by going to classes, by, taking a class for a specific hobby, right? There's like so many ways that you can meet people that are your speed, self-help groups, book clubs.
Yeah. Just on that point, like people are
Yeah.
sometimes asking, like speaking about this loneliness that they feel, I think at like this like single want to be married phase in life.
Yes.
Or even post-marriage if they're feeling lonely and like, or how to, even if it's not coming from loneliness, how do I cultivate friendships? So I feel like that's even like, I know this is not the question, but this is such a great point. Like, and I always say that, but I'm happy to hear you say it because sometimes I feel like a broken record and maybe what I'm saying is just like not enough like on point, but like the way to build relationships at this age is not like to go to the park, but rather, I mean, unless you're going to the park with like
I
a
love
child or
swings.
something.
I have to say, I love swings. I have to say.
So you never know. You might find your
So, yeah.
swing there. But like doing something that you are passionate about or somewhat passionate about, and then you find people that share similar interests, right? Because I didn't mean to like cut you off or like just like I felt like
No, but I'm so happy you did.
People's questions that could answer so many people's like struggle with whether it's coming from loneliness or a lack of like friendship or companionship at a later stage in life. People feel like they lost the boat making friends. Like my best friends were all made later in life. Like later in life, I don't know if you could call me later in life, but like whatever, not when I was like, not from when I'm tiny, right? Or much younger. So I think that's like really an important point to like hone in on.
Yeah, that there's so many ways, and maybe we'll do more of a video on that another time, or I can do like one of those
like
minute
a series.
videos.
Yeah,
I can definitely do that.
Just save me like WhatsApp.
Yeah. Just send me a reminder.
Okay.
But someone just wrote, marriage unfortunately doesn't solve loneliness issues 100%. And I think that's Faye, you added that as like a thing. I think just to speak to that, the same holds true if you feel lonely in a marriage, right? If you don't feel that partnership, if you don't feel that companionship, obviously there's what to work through in the marriage dynamic, right? But in the meantime, definitely satisfy that part of yourself by seeking out healthy relationships, right? And satisfying those social needs, right?
Exactly.
So again, figuring out what your hobbies are and going to classes based on those things, or, there's so many ways, and we'll talk more about it. And then I think also, if this person is spiritual, then a lot of time bringing to God your pain and your loneliness can be so therapeutic and so satisfying, right? That's why in like 12-step fellowships, they consider addiction to be, they call it a God-sized hole that they have, a God-sized void, and you can only fill it with God. And so I think, from like a Jewish religious spiritual perspective, right? We liken the relationship with God to a marriage, or a marriage to God, a relationship with God. And I think that telling God, like, please fill my loneliness, fill my heart, fill this void. I feel so sad. I feel so, depleted. I feel like I'm lacking love and just attention and care and relationship. Please help me feel connected. That can be really powerful.
Yeah, I love that you
can be
were
really, really
spiritual
powerful.
piece, because sometimes again, like I feel like I'm always the one like saying like the spiritual stuff, like in not in our conversations, just in general. Like I sometimes on the AMAs, I'm like, if people ask about the spiritual thing, or if I ever have an appropriate way to put it in, I put it in. But I love that you also put that in, because I feel like a lot of times therapists shy away from that, and I think that like there's always a place for it, especially if the person's open to it. So again, this questioner has to be open to it, but I think that can probably bring a great sense of relief, almost like similar to what you might feel from therapy, or like somebody really understands, or an unburdening of yourself, right? Like sometimes what people do in therapy is just simply like they have an unburdening session, and like even if the therapist doesn't say anything, they feel better. And why is that? Because they really internalize the concept of somebody listening and taking the burden, and similar
And
to what we
holding,
do with
holding
God.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that a lot of therapists get scared to talk about religiosity
Mm-hmm.
in terms of suggestions or solutions because they don't want to necessarily put certain values onto their clients.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very fine line because I think that you have to go with where the client is when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to their religious views. Even the ones that aren't working for them, you have to always check in with them and make sure you're respectful of their religious, or spiritual views. And there is a distinction between religion and spirituality, right? So if
Right.
it's not God that the person wants to use when it comes to spirituality, then go to the ocean or take a hike, and let yourself be enveloped in that nature. And that might be the spiritual force that the person feels connected to, right? Like there's like plants are alive, the ocean is alive, right? It's
Yeah.
vibrant. So tap into that aliveness and that vitality,
Mm-hmm.
and you get a similar feeling. If you don't believe in God, or if you have a tricky relationship with God, there are other ways to tap into spirituality. Dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dance is also a great way of just tapping into something deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way, you can really feel nurtured in the ways that you so badly need and so badly deserve, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love everything you said, like ditto to everything. Something that stuck out for me was similar to what you said, like how it would be important to differentiate like the love, the attention, the companionship. Like as you were talking, I literally took notes because I wanted to remember what I wanted to say, but
Mm.
also like the feeling or the word that was coming to me was like fulfillment. Like it sounds like this individual's lacking fulfillment. So it's like easy to say like I'm single and maybe that's why, because I don't have that companion, which could be a piece of it, but I don't think it's the whole answer. And I think you were getting at that as well. And as you're talking, this
Yeah.
kind of idea is like, marinating in my mind. And I think that this fulfillment piece is like, that doesn't mean you could be 100% fulfilled at this point in your life, because maybe there's a mother in you that wants to, birth children, and maybe that can't be happen tomorrow, right? But like, what can you do, whether it's in your work, whether it's a hobby, whether it's walking in nature, whether it's getting closer to God, whether it's spirituality, to bring that greater sense of fulfillment. And then like another piece is like the attention piece. So like again, like what is there something that you want to get attention for? You know what I'm saying? And like, can you cultivate, whether it's a side hustle, whether it's whatever it is, like similar to what the first thing you said is like maybe journal to figure out like what is really lacking, what is that yearning, and then how can we go about getting those needs met, whether it's like in a very direct way, whether it's more indirect, whether it's through spiritual means. And then I think the last point is just to like learn to be okay with the feeling of loneliness. I feel like even though we're trying to correct it with giving all these ideas and insights and thoughts and things that you can try, that's very practical, and some of them are less practical, but like what can you do, or how can you practice being okay
Tolerating.
with
I love that.
yeah.
I love that. It's so funny. There, in a similar vein, there was like a recent TED talk about the benefits of boredom, and it's kind
Yeah.
of similar, but loneliness, being able to tolerate that, because there are still plenty of times where you're married and you're completely by yourself. And as this one person, messaged here, like you feel very lonely. Even if it's a healthy marriage, there are going to be periods of time where you feel lonely because your spouse is unable to, for whatever good reason, to be able to be there for you. And that's just a truth of life and marriage. And so knowing how to tolerate that, and to know what to tap into in order to deal with that, I think is a really valuable tool. I
Exactly.
couldn't agree with you more, Faye.
Yeah, and I feel like this person has an opportunity now to cultivate that skill. It's like basically a skill of being okay going inward, being okay feeling a void.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like kind of this like dualism of like being okay with that, and at the same time figuring out healthy ways that you can fill it or massage it or do whatever you can to take away the intensity.
Yes.
To kind of like vacillate between those two things. And then the last point I want to say, of course, because like this is so up my alley, is like if you do have so much time on your hand, maybe it's not time, maybe I'm taking this a step further, but let's say you do have ample time to do different things because it's not being filled with other relationships. Like, what can you use this time for? Like, I'm always like, I feel like time is like our most valuable thing in the world. So like, think to yourself, like in 5 years from now, you're married with 2 kids and you're like, oh, I wish I would have A, B, C, and D. Like, what is that wish list? If you could put yourself into that space and you could identify what those things would be, you might find that like there's something you really want to do, and that can be the hobby that you find friends with through, or be the next business that you start, or whatever it is. It can just open a whole new world for you. So it's really like a gift. Like emotions are really like messengers, and it can be a really good messenger. So that's kind of like
I
my
think that's beautiful, Faye.
point. Thank you.
And massage, you mentioned, use the word massage. Massage is also another good way of getting the needs met. If that's your thing.
If that's your thing, exactly, exactly, yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank
That
you
is a
so
good
much,
point.
Faye.
Thank you,
What?
Michali. No, I said that is a very good point. That like is the whole like self-soothing coping skills type of thing to use. I'm happy
Yeah.
that you found it powerful. 7899. Appreciate that. Thank you everyone for joining. This was really great. Thank you so much, Michali. Thank you everyone for joining, and we will be back next week.
See you next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.